Okay, so we're going to quickly go over, uh, I guess it's called LocatorBaker, which you can launch it from this thing that looks like a locator over here. So we'll just go over the interface first and then kind of how to use it practically speaking or impractically speaking. So there are two tabs. One is to create locators, and that's where you set you. Actually, let me back up. So the original request for this tool was based on the idea that we want to preserve animation or copy animation from one thing to another, um, just in case, like say you bring in a new tool or bring in a new weapon, you want to copy it over uh, to the hand right immediately, or you want to copy uh, you want to preserve animation just in case, like if you're swapping a character out and you have some weird constraints on there and you're not 100% sure if the animation's going to come over or if everything's going to move over properly, but you want to be able to copy that animation back onto your new character. Stuff like that. Um, I'm sure you'll find different ways to use it, and I consider this tool incomplete at this point because I have a few other ideas. But I think we got the basics down here, and we need to move forward. But I would love to hear it if you have other ideas, ways to expand this tool to make it more useful for you. Anyway, so let's start moving. So create locators. So we have two sets of options here, right here. I hope you can see that. One is all controls and one is selected controls, and so that should be pretty straightforward. Uh, Selected controls is if whatever you select for your character, it will create a locator and bake out the animation on that locator to match that control. All controls is intended for full body, so it's not like all the controls in the scene or whatever. And you'll notice that when I clicked all controls, this option box is now available. So now can't click it because it doesn't make any sense for it to be active. But if you click on this, now it's active. And what this is a list of all the characters in your scene. So if you want to bake out all the animation, all the body animation, I'd say, because this does not bake out face animation. If you wanted to bake out all the body animation, you can just pick the character that you want to bake out, and you can do that. And then down here you have a frame range. So in this demo, I'm only going to bake out frame range of 100 frames or whatever just to make it faster. But you can just pick your frame range. If you leave that empty, then it's just going to do the entire um, frame range. But one thing I would like to be able to do, which is it doesn't do right now, is for it to detect the overall length of all of your, like the combined length of all of your animation curves. So whatever the min and the max of your animation curve length is, regardless of what's visible on your timeline, only bake that stuff out. Because right now, if it bakes everything in your timeline and your curves are shorter than the timeline, then you're going to end up with these extra curves that you might not want. So, but that we'll call that version 1.5. That is something I want to add, like a little checkbox that says uh, only bake for the min and max duration of your animation curves. Anyway, so let's just bake this dude out. So this is let's see, who is this? This is Egon, a character who he does his thing. You'll notice other curves back here. This is for demo purposes. I have another character that I've referenced in here, and I'll explain all that stuff in a sec. But anyway, so he's got his animation, and what if, say, you wanted, for some whatever reason, wanted to copy this animation onto another character. So I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you know, I'll let somebody else figure out a really decent practical description of how to use it. So we'll do that. So let's just say let's grab frames 1150 through 1400. So you'd go up here and you type 1150 through 1400. and make sure all controls are selected and char 1. I happen to know that this guy's char 1 because the other guy I brought in is Louis. And we're not going to, he doesn't have any animation on him right now, but he will shortly. So char 1. So we're going to create locators. And so you'll notice down here, it's just cranking away just on those frame range. So you see it baked out the keys for that. And if you go into the outliner over here, you'll notice that there's now a group called char1 LocatorBaker group. I just made that name up just because. And it's always going to be prefixed in this case with anything you bake out will be prefixed with a namespace if it has a namespace. So so now we have and that was pretty quick. That was all the locators for that character, or all the controls now have for the body have a representative locator and baked out appropriately. So okay, so what? Let's go over to apply locators. So one thing you might want to do is, and again, you guys can think of a practical use for this, but I'm just going to show you what it can do, and you can use your imagination on how best to use this. But say, let me turn on Louis', it's got to be an easier way. Louis, there's Louis, and then his head geometry. Okay, so here's Louis over here. He has no animation on him. But say for whatever reason you wanted to copy the animation for the left hand of from this guy over here, from Egon onto Louis. Again, stupid example, but it just shows you what the tool use is. So this is another thing that I would like to add later on is, say, because you have like a bunch of locators over here for the full character. And even if it's just 10 locators, finding the locator that you want to copy onto another control is a pain in the butt. So what I want to do is add a button that says find locator for selected control. So say you wanted to copy the animation for the left hand, click the button and it will find it over here and highlight it for you. I don't have that right now, so what I'm going to have to quickly dig through here. Let's see. So I'm looking for just let's go left arm IK. So we'll zoom in, so just so you can know that's okay. Yep, left arm IK. And so apply locators. So apply to. We have a list of, where over here you have a list of characters. Over here you have a list of characters and weapons. And because I'm not making a distinction, like in this case we have Louis Master Rig and Louis Master Officer Rig. You have to be careful because the animations most likely will, for characters, be applied to the officer rig version of the character. So we have nested namespaces or nested references here. So Louis Master is the reference that I brought in, but because it's referencing the officer rig within Louis, we have this namespace where it's Louis Master Rig and then officer rig. And I know that that's the one that I want to apply the animation to. So let's say I'm going to apply 1150 through 1400 here. Because if I don't do this based on the current code, it will bake everything for the entire timeline, and you'll have a bunch of empty frames and only around the frames that you actually want. So let's go to 1400. Okay, so what we have here, just to reiterate, we've selected the LocatorBaker for the ARM IK, and we have selected Louis to copy that onto for, right here, I almost made a mistake because selected group would have done everything. If it doesn't find the group here, like say you click on this guy and you have selected group, it does all of its brothers and sisters here as well. So you got to do selected locators. So you do that and you see down here it's cranking away. So now, even though he's a little too far away, but the that was stupid. Anyway, so between these frames, you'll see Louis's arm trying in vain to match. I mean, the control is over there, but it's just hyperextending and can't reach him. But you kind of get it, right? Okay, so well, what if we wanted to do the whole thing? So one thing you could do is, like, say you wanted to do the whole body. So we'll just do the selected group so that his arm isn't just hanging out there by himself. We just do the entire body. And again, it's a pretty quick process. So now, once it's done baking, now we have Louis matching for those frames. So you see he's frozen before that, and then he matches perfectly after that. And then once the frame range is done, then he freezes. Again, this is not a practical uh, demonstration, but just showing you what the tool can do, and you guys can sort it out as to how best to use it. Or if this is not how you would, if this tool does not do something you want, um, let me know. I think I said that already. But anyway, okay, so there you go. So let's see, what else can I do? Oh, one thing that Mike wanted me to show you is, and one thing you can do with this is just kind of cool. I mean, it's just sort of Maya basics, but say you wanted to copy this onto a fresh file, like say you baked out the entirety of this character, you wanted to put it onto a fresh file. If this file comes from a third-party vendor, Mindwalk or something, and it's a dirty file, you want to preserve the animation, but you want to kind of start from scratch. You could use whatever tools you normally use to copy animation, and that's fine. But another thing you can do is use this, bake out all the animation for the character, and then export this set of locators, and then open up, create a new file, reference in the right character, and it doesn't have to be the same character. Open up the LocatorBaker, go to apply locators, find your character, and if it's just the one character, it should just be right there, and then apply locators. And then your animation will be copied over. Now that doesn't take into consideration constraints or weapons or anything like that, although weapons can be part of it as well. That's just another option. So one thing that Mike wanted to show me, because this is something that wanted me to show you, is the ability to, since you guys are going to be working with PCAP, this is not something well, maybe. I don't know if you'll need this or not. But anyway, say you have a pose, an ADS pose for a weapon, and you want to copy that in as the first or last frame of your scene, so that as you go into animation, or into the AI, from PCAP to AI within Unreal, you can blend smoothly. So what I did a couple days ago when I was testing this out is I saved out an ADS pose. So I'm just going to import that, and all that pose is just locators. So it contains locator data for pose data for the weapon and the body. So I think I put that on the desktop and ADS SMG pose. So there we go. And so you'll see over here what that did is brought in char0, and again, the namespace here doesn't matter. That's just in order to differentiate the different locator groups, we put the namespace on it. But in the end, the only namespace that matters is the one you apply it to. Okay, so now we have, so you can see here we have a weapon baked out, and we have a locator baked, or not a locator, a character baked out. So you can see all that stuff. So say for instance you want Egon here to start off life looking like he's holding a weapon. Now he doesn't have a weapon in here. In fact, let me go reference a weapon in here quickly, just so you kind of see what's going on here. Let me see. Let me create a reference. Sorry, I'm kind of winging this. So let's see, rigs, weapons, and we'll bring in, since it looks like it's a SMG, we'll bring in SMG. Boom. Okay. So again, weapon with no animation, character has animation, but doesn't matter because we're going to overwrite it anyway. So I'm just going to go to -20 so we don't destroy any of his other animation. And then I'm going to crank this down just so we can kind of see a little bit better between 0 and that. So let's click on this. Actually, let's click on these guys and move the animation. And we'll click on that guy too. So one of the things is that when you bake the animation, you get it wherever it started off life. So I baked the animation and those curves were on around frame 30, but we want to move them to here. Just manually move them. If it gets complicated, maybe I have other tools to move, kind of force things to certain frame ranges or starting frame ranges. You guys probably have them as well. So all I'm doing is moving the stuff over here. So now we have those animation curves over here. So let's make Egon look like he's posing. I'm gonna actually no, let's just do this. Char 1, Egon is char 1, and we're going to make him look like he's posing, but we want to identify which frame range it is. So -20 to 0. So it's going to bake out everything. Even though there's only 2 frames, I don't know if it's 17 and 18. I don't want to bother with that. So I'm just grabbing this whole frame range. Selected locators. Now we'll just do selected group, and we'll do that. Boom. Well, it's kind of a premature boom. But anyway, there we go. So now he is fully decked out. We're ready to shoot somebody, but he doesn't have a weapon. Let's give him a weapon. So in this case, we want to close that, go over here to weapon, and we want to apply it to... Oh, that's one thing. This doesn't refresh automatically, so if you bring in a new reference like I did with the weapon, just reload the thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't preserve the frame range, so just add it back in there. So now if you pull this down, you'll have the M1A1V2 rig. So if everything goes well, and I'm not going to embarrass myself, if I apply locators, this should pop right back into his hand. There you go. So again, that's just for a pose, and that's only for 20 frames. So if you go outside of that frame range, all bets are off. He's just going to go pop. So you guys I don't know exactly how you guys are going to be blending between these things. But I know you can do it. And if, again, we need to figure out ways within this tool to blend them, to blend between copied animations and pre-existing animations, then we can do that as well. But again, I don't know what tools you guys already use. I don't know your workflows, so let's discuss. Anyway, that's it. That's it for version 1. There's some version. I'm sorry this is going on so way too freaking long. So there's some other things that I want to add to this, and maybe I'll do it tonight if I have time. One thing I want to add right now, everything is sort of name based. So if you the name of the locator is really controlling where the animation goes. So in the instance of this weapon, it's looking for a grip control, and it's only going to copy to another grip control. And the hip control, or whatever this is, the control C body locator is only going to want to find a control C body. What I would like to do is to be able to make that more arbitrary. So say you select in the case, say you wanted a character to, like, say you want Louis over here to have a hand grenade in his hand, but you want to copy the animation from his hand just to get it in the right place. You want to reference in the grenade, which has a different naming structure and control names, but you want to copy the animation from this hand to the grenade just to get it in the ballpark. Right now you can't do that with this tool. I know there are tools out there that already exist within the Respawn world, so maybe Maybe I don't need it. Maybe we don't need to add it, but I would like to add it as maybe either another tab or somewhere, but I don't know. We'll figure out a good way to add that. And I think there are a couple other features I'd like to add just for nicety, just to make things a little bit cleaner. But that's it. I'm gonna go because I've gone on way too long here, uh, and I'm hoping to hell that this audio recorded. Uh, that's it. Give me a shout if you have any questions, or if you have uh, questions on how to use this within the workflow, R6 workflow, then talk to Mike because he has some ideas on how he would like to use this as well. And I think I've outlined them all here, but maybe there's something else. And that's it.